So when you create your essay assignment, make sure that you're using Times New Roman font, 12 point. Make sure that your line spacing is double and you have no extra spaces before or after paragraphs. So just to reiterate what goes into MLA formatting, most of you are doing this correctly, but I just want to make sure that there's absolutely no mistakes in formatting for Essay 6. When you leave this class and you go into your other college classes, I want you to be a professional at formatting. This semester's MLA. Next semester, we will perfect APA formatting. So the very first thing is your first and last name. The second line is your professor's name. The third line is the title of the course. And the fourth line is the due date for the final draft, which airs is Friday the 13th. No extra spaces, no making it large, bold, or anything like that. Make sure you're using the center tab to center your title, and then back to left justification for your introduction. Now, I told you that you could use the information that is provided at the beginning of that essay prompt that I shared with you yesterday. So just a statement of general context will work here. Okay. So, just kind of a general context statement to open up with. And okay. So another kind of general statement here, and then I'm going to introduce the statement. So the whole point of this essay is that you pick a statement from one of the essays, and then you're able to use that as a yes, but argument, or to simply disagree with that statement. So if you go back to the essays, and I'm just going to pick a statement from one of the essays here. And the statement that I'm going to use is, the argument is sometimes made that torture is useless, that it is a bad way to gather intelligence because people under torture lie. Okay, so I'm going to use that statement. I'm going to go back over here and say, okay, let me get back here. This is Bazarek. And let me catch his name again. No, that's not Bazarek. That is Hertzberg. Hendrik Hertzberg. And remember, I talked yesterday about strong verbs. One of those strong verbs you can use is posits or claims or argues or asserts. So use some of those strong verbs in your writing. So in A Case for Torture, Hendrik Hertzberg posits that some people claim torture is ineffective because people will lie. Okay, so that's the statement I'm going to use, and I'm going to use this to craft a thesis statement. So then the next sentence is going to be my thesis statement for that. So what I'm going to say about this, while this may be true, the use of torture is morally and ethically justifiable because it can potentially save innocent lives. Okay, so that's kind of a yes, but thesis statement. Yes, that position is an accurate position, but there's an overriding issue here at the heart of the issue. Okay, so that would be my introduction with a thesis statement. Then, and notice that I'm reasoning here top down. So I'm beginning with a broad general statement, and I'm going to move to the very specific. We talked about inductive and deductive reasoning, Here I'm opting for beginning with the thesis. You could opt for an inverse model where you reason by examples and then have your thesis or your generalization at the very end of the essay. That option is yours as to how you organize this. Okay, so then I'm going to begin to gather evidence. I'm going to organize my ideas around the two pieces of evidence that I have. Remember that if I use anything from the essay, I have to cite it. Okay, so let's just say, for example, I'm saying, remember the second time I refer to the author, I'm just going to use the last name. Hertzberg calls this type of resistant pacifism. Okay, then I'm going to cite that with his last name, space, and the page number that it came from, which in this case is going to be page 323. Close parenthesis, period. Period goes on the outside of that. Now, let's say, for example, that I'm not satisfied with just using the two sources. I can't get to 700 words, so I need to use more. Then I'm going to go do just a Google search and find a reliable source. And let's say that after searching, I find this particular article. Can the use of torture be intelligence gathering be justified? And so I read through this. I find it to be credible, valid, and reliable, and I want to cite this as a source. Then I certainly can do that. Now, how do I go about citing this particular source? This one happens to be a good one because it gives me an author's name, it gives me a date, it gives me a title, and I'm going to be able to use this website very easily. So if I go over here to the Purdue Online Writing Lab and I look for how to cite electronic sources, it tells me how to cite an entire website, a page on a website, ebooks, an image, an article in a web magazine, an article in an online scholarly journal. So you're going to see basically the same format. The author's last name, comma, first name, the title of the article, the title of the website. So the title of the article is in quotation marks because shorter works are in quotation marks. The larger work is italicized. So the name of the overall website is italicized. And then the date that it was published or last revised. And then I have the URL. And then the very last thing is the date that I accessed it. So I want to make sure that I'm getting that right. So I'm going to go back over to this article. And here is my name. So I'm going to copy that over here. I'm going to go down to the works cited. And I'm going to paste that without formatting. I want to do last name first. And then a period. Okay, so the next thing is going to be the title of the article. And it is, can the use of torture be justified? I'm going to enclose that in quotation marks because it's the title of the article. The next thing is the title of the website. So if I go back to the website and I see that the title of the website is International Relations. So I'm going to do that as the title for the website. And it's going to be italicized, just as you would italicize the title of a novel or a book-length work. Okay, the very next thing that should happen is a comma and the date that it was published or revised in inverted order. And so the date for this is March 20th, 2020. So I'm going to go back here and put my comma, March 20th, 2020. The next thing is a comma and the URL. And then period, and then accessed and the date that I accessed it. Today's date is 10 November 2020. Okay. Remember what I told you about hanging indents yesterday? So I've got to have these second and subsequent lines indented. If I hit tab here, it tabs over the first line. But if I put my cursor in front of the second line and hit enter, nothing happens. And then I hit tab, it will just tab over what I need. And you'll have to go back in and kind of straighten up some things in order to make that work. The other thing I've got to consider is I've got to have these in alphabetical order. So this needs to come first so that they're in alphabetical order. So then when I cite this particular website, okay, so keep in mind here that on a web page, I don't have a page number. So I'm just going to use the author's last name. Now, here's the theory with Works Cited. When I find the author's last name, or if there's no author, then the first thing in the entry would be the title in quotation marks. I can quickly go to the Works Cited page, look alphabetically, and then find it. So that's how you should be citing. So if you need to find a web source in order to add to this essay, in order to get 700 words, that's how you would accomplish that. One other thing about MLA formatting before we leave this document is make sure that you're inserting page numbers for your headers correctly. So insert page number. You want to pick the one that's at the top, right, justified. And so that automatically puts a 1 on 1, a 2 on 2, and so forth. And you put your last name and a space, and then go back and make sure that you have changed that to Times New Roman 12 point. And so then page 2 is going to have your last name and a 2 on it, and your Works Cited will have a page number on it as well. With MLA formatting, there's no need for a cover page. We'll find that you do have a cover page when you use the APA and Chicago styles that we use next semester.